Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode.
Hey.
We are back, and before we even get started on today's topic, right, we want to talk about what's love got to do with it? Well, but before we even dive in, go ahead and like and subscribe if you have not already. We do drop videos like this every single week. So today's episode is inspired by Amanda Seales. Her last week's episode was about love, and specifically marriage.
What was it about love?
Well, I guess what's love got to do with it, right? It's more so about marriage.
More so about marriage. And I don't know the name of the gentleman that she interviewed, but she interviewed somebody and asked his perspective on it. And he kind of dove into the history a little bit about how marriage was invented in the patriarchal times, right? Patriarchal.
Yes.
Where it was just like after the Neolithic era or something like that. And, where people needed to distinguish, what property, what land, what children, and what woman was yours. So marriage, literally is like pretty much slavery of women,
Yes.
Just, that was his, little summary of the history of where marriage came from.
Okay, and people are obviously in the comments, they were ruffling some feathers. They were mentioning, well, why do married people talk about unmarried people? Yeah, why do unmarried people talk about married people's business and this and that? And then the comments were basically saying like, well,
married people are not entitled to talk about marriage.
Okay, and
it's a public topic.
It is.
And just because one is not in that predicament doesn't mean we can't shed light or, share insight on that topic.
And most importantly, what is wrong with talking about the history of marriage?
Seriously, why does it trigger some people? And you know what? It's especially triggering the men. Okay? Now let's talk about that a little bit, because patriarchal society benefits the man.
Okay,
right?
That's why it was set up for.
Exactly. Not once does it talk about a man being property or deciding, or a woman deciding, which man was his. It was the other way around.
Okay.
So,
I mean, realistically, guys, up until some 60, 70 years ago, women were not even allowed to vote or even have their own credit card and such.
We couldn't even act. So, men were dressing up as women to go on stage, pretending to be women because we couldn't act. Can you believe it?
Okay, so us being in regards to that it's not a far-fetched of marriage being slavery of women.
Now, I get it, right? Over time, some of you will argue, over time, the meaning of marriage did change.
Of course.
Yes, it did. Yes, people, make things their own over time. It's cute, whatever, okay? But I thought why it was important for people to at least know the origins of marriage is it'll shed light in some of the situations where a lot of married couples find themselves in. And it's usually based on a patriarchal society, right? I mean, while, yes, there's no, at least that's the future we're fighting for. There's no slavery of women. But perhaps we're still being treated like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially, you're right. Because obviously, if you look at energy, right, we're like, oh, nothing is created or nothing is destroyed. Everything is just transferred, right? So it's like, modern day slavery is not what we used to think of it. Now, now it's something different.
Now we come up with official names for them. We come up with different titles for them that kind of help us move away from the word slavery, but it doesn't mean that, you might still treat the person as such. Now,
yeah, exactly, especially being viewed as property, because I thought it was important to bring up, because not that I'm anti-marriage, but because awareness by like the term of, the history of it is important. And also just the fact that a lot of my women, friends,
a lot of men still treat the women as property. Let's be for real.
Yeah, they're in marriages and they are still feeling like they're property, single parents or single moms, and it's like you bring it to that, when you look at it that way, it's kind of like, well,
now we see the roots and origins, how it could have affected what marriage has boiled down to nowadays. You know what I mean? Like, it's still a point to bring up and say, hey, all right, so marriage because now it makes sense why the head of the household term comes from and why it's assumed to be the man, right? Because they ain't gonna put a woman in the head of the household if she was property. Okay, they're not gonna let the woman make half the decisions in the household because she was property. Okay, the woman's not gonna get much of a say, and it's usually the man who dictates what's going to happen. Now, obviously, what goes on behind household, behind your closed doors is your business. Okay.
Yeah.
And we don't want to know. We don't care.
Yeah.
But I just want to, just put it out there for my sisters out there, because I can't come save you, boo boo. When you all, when you locked up and behind closed doors with your mans, I can't come save you there. And we tell our sisters or younger sisters that all the time, like, we can't come save you, but we're gonna give you some tips, all right, girl?
We're gonna give you some knowledge, just so you could bring awareness to it. I mean, because I think having that conversation of what modern day marriage means to you, especially with the roles what each gender play, is gonna be a lot more beneficial if you talk about it from now point of view versus the history of it. Because the thing about patriarchal society is that men may not be aware of what they're doing.
Exactly, the awareness part, because they don't realize that is, like, some of what they're feeling is right. Like, it's just what it means to be a man, is what comes from a patriarchal society, and they cannot separate the two sometimes. Which is why, too, men, you should take heed, because if you're now realizing, oh snap, like, this is why I've been feeling so entitled to, my woman and her things are mine, because in my mind, like, I believe and embody this patriarchal society where women don't have really an equal say.
And we're property, like, come on, like cattle. Like, let's just stop the bullshit.
It's not easy to swallow, let me tell you. But like, it gave me an aha moment when I heard about it.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
it makes sense why these men act up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And then pushing it to where it's, colonized, where now it's about, Christianity viewpoint is why it was able to be spread. And then people were able to accept it because it was coming from a biblical standpoint and point of view. And we know they love a good Christian story. So, of course, then they were going to, marinate that marriage, make it put rainbows and bows on it.
This is what God wanted. This is what he would have wanted. And I'm not saying that there aren't benefits and perks of marriage and being with one person. Because, before everybody was with everybody. But just there's a loss to that type of society, moving away from that type of society as well. Like, maybe they had more of something that we can't encompass now, because we're just not in this mental, the mindset, the predicament to comprehend a society like that. Because we're patriarchal. Let's face it.
Yeah. And so I don't know, what was this news to you? Did you know that history had that slavery? I mean, I don't think a lot of people knew, so I'm gonna be
for real. And not we're not bashing on marriage. It's a beautiful thing when two people come together and can form a union and start a family and everything. It's great for Earth population, obviously.
And to each his own. You know what I mean? You could still be pro marriage and still view and look at the history of marriage, because that awareness is what allow you to be more flexible in terms of what you want versus what you don't want.
Yeah, and then, knowing the history of marriage, it can help you distinguish what part of marriage you'd like to leave in the past.
Oh, yep.
And what part of marriage you'd like to continue to develop in your future. Okay?
Yeah.
So, really, let us know what you guys think. The minute you heard about that tea, because I was just like, oh, say what?
Okay.
The girlies ain't going like this. The girlies.
And so, if you want to watch the original video, you could just go to Amanda Seals, I think,
TV.com. Yes, and it will talk about that segment. It was her last week's episode.
Yeah, which was tea, guys. Let us know what you think about it. And are you moving away from that, mentality of marriage? Or are you pro or are you anti? Like, let us know. Let us know what you think. Exactly. And we do drop videos like this every single week. So like and subscribe if you have not. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.